Good evening, afternoon, morning. We always talk about which time zone we're filming this in because we're in Britain and we have nothing better to talk about. It's either that or the weather, and the weather's always perpetually shit. Anyway, welcome to this week of the Rounders Roundup, hosted by Gaz and Alan, joining me for the first time in a while. Alan, how have you been keeping?
Not too bad, guys. Been pretty good. Got to play some baseball yesterday. The sun came out. Yes, we're talking about the weather again, but the sun came out. Had a great double header. Split it. Unfortunately, lost the second one, but happy to be out there playing, man. How about you? What's been going on?
Yeah, all good. I've been sort of away from baseball, been finishing up my rugby season. Ankles a bit busted, shoulders a bit busted, but we had a few beers after the game. It was fun. It was great. We did lose. We lost by 2 points, but it's sort of a county cup final. It's been my first one, so great experience. And then the beers after tasted even better, even though we lost.
Even sweeter, absolutely.
But as much as we love to talk about rugby, well, I do, and I know Alan does a little bit. We're here to talk about baseball. Welcome to week 9 of the Rounders Roundup. We're already almost 2 months into the season. Feels like it only started a week ago, but it was 8 weeks ago, as evidenced by the way we count. The way we count time is in Rounders Roundup episodes. So week 9, quite a bit happened. Actually, it was quite a quiet week for the first half, and then the weekend, it was a MLB rivalry weekend, and I'm just interested to get your thoughts on what did you think of the rivalry weekend? Because MLB market it as if it's local rivals facing off against each other. And whilst you had some, you had the Subway Series between the Mets and the Yankees, you had the Crosstown Classic between the White Sox and the Cubs, you had the old battle for the Bay between the A's and the Giants. There were some real interesting intra-league matchups which haven't really been marketed that well by MLB. They had the Diamondbacks and the Rockies as a big rivalry. I can't say the word rivalry because I've got a list. That's okay. They had the Rockies and the Diamondbacks listed as a must-see, but they're division rivals and they play each other 4 times a year. So I just, just interested to get your take on what did you think of the rivalry weekend marketing by MLB, and are you a fan of it, or is it just another weekend in baseball?
I think it's weird because yes, I kind of do enjoy it, but it is for the more of those big market teams, and you can tell that it's really directed towards, right, we're going to have the 2 LA teams, we're going to have the 2 New York teams, we're going to do it. But I think there's so much more interesting, aside from maybe Chicago. I feel like there's way more interesting rivalry, because obviously Boston Yankees is a massive age-old one, and I don't know, it's kind of LA maybe more towards, because was it LA Angels? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, Angels face the Dodgers.
Yeah, because it feels like the Dodgers, maybe San Diego is more of a thing going on, or is it something against the Giants? It feels like it's more just directed at those big market teams and just pushing it in those big market towns rather than it being a genuine rivalry. What do you think?
I'm confused by it because, as I said, I spoke about this on the live stream as well the other day, and it's the Chicago, New York, and LA matchups. Yeah, for me, they're rivalries. But if I was to ask a Yankees fan who are the biggest rivals for the Yankees, I reckon the Mets wouldn't even appear in the top 3. I think, Red Sox. I think, the Phillies, maybe the Braves. It might be different between the Mets because it's National and American League. But I don't think the Yankees would put the Mets in their top 3 rivals. And obviously, number 1 by far is Boston.
I think even Astros would come in there more so than a lot of the teams that you put in. But I think it's perfectly kind of defined by, if you've seen the Derek Jeter documentary, and he has that point where they're talking about the Mets and the rivalry, and he's like, well, they're just the Mets. And he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get a lot of shot for that sometime. But I think that is the way they think of it. They're just we're kind of above this, we're kind of whatever. But the Boston thing is really heads on, heads bashing. We want to mess some stuff up,
Yeah, I just think they've kind of, they've put it out there for the casual fan. If I'm a British fan and I can see the 2 LA teams going at it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be Tottenham Arsenal in the Premier League or Celtic Rangers in Scotland. And then you go over there and it's no, the Dodgers are just whipping the Angels' ass all the way up and down I think they call it the I-95 series or the Freeway Series.
Freeway Series, yeah.
Yeah, they're just whipping their ass up and down the freeway. But as you're right, with the Dodgers, they care more about the Giants and the Padres. So... I don't know. For me, I think it's a bit of it's a clever market employ. I don't really buy into it. Also, a fun one. You've got the Mariners and the Padres face each other in the Eddie Vedder Cup, which is self-appointed. But Eddie Vedder I know he's a famous musician. It's going to kill me. I don't know which band he's off the top of my head, but he's a known Cubs fan. Like,
is he?
Die-hard Cubs fan. Like, has done the 7th inning stretch. Has done the old. Has done like the national anthem there. Eddie Vedder. Who does he play for?
I can't remember. That 90s were Pearl Jam, of course.
Pearl Jam. Yeah. I didn't know that off the top of my head. So apologies for all you Pearl Jam fans. But it's like they call it the Eddie Vedder Cup, and yet he's a Cubs fan. Like, he's very well known as a Cubs fan, and it's these random two teams on the West Coast. That's the stuff that I find a bit weirder.
Because is it Pearl Jam? Is because it's associated with all that like grunge era 90s, and that was all very like all West Coast, Portland, Seattle, all that time.
Yeah,
probably.
There's a trophy now. I don't understand.
Tell me he's done the national anthem, please. In his voice would be hilarious.
I think he's done it for the Cubs. I don't know if he's done it with. I don't know if he's done it with the Mariners or the Padres.
Just the real. Who see him? You see the real 90s vibe.
Yeah, they get a cup. I think it's just a merchandise thing, but yeah, that's the stuff I find a bit weird. But anyway, that was this past weekend. There were some really, really fun games this weekend. Cubs and White Sox Crosstown Classic was a good series, which I'll touch on a little bit later. I know the Yankees and the Mets had a good competitive Subway Series, and then the Dodgers, as I said, absolutely smoked the Angels, and no one else matters this episode. So, but we'll cover them off at the end. Anyway, you know how the Rounders Roundup works by now. We have a few news stories from the last week, some a little bit more than a week ago. We're just going to quickly go through them, give you our comments, give you some updates, and then we'll both get a chance to talk about our teams at the end. I'll be talking very, very little about the Cubs because A, I've been on the last 4 Rounders Roundup, so everyone should be getting a Cubs update by now, and B, we've not been very good the past week, so going to hand it over to Alan with the Yankees for a lot longer. Alan, are you ready for the Roundup?
Absolutely, bring it on. What are we talking about first?
Is this your first Roundup? You've been on before?
No, I went on once before, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, Roundup returner. Lovely. I think Josh is the only one yet to make his Roundup debut this year.
Okay. Okay.
But that'll be a fun one. Okay, the first news story we've got, it's loosely associated to the Yankees. Your top prospect, Spencer Jones, who came up, to much fanfare. I think he took the place of, was it Jason Dominguez on the roster?
Yeah, correct? Jason Dominguez is on the IL at the moment, so he's been come up and taken his place. Which is a new story in itself, because Spencer Jones is known as, big power bat. Unfortunately, a lot of swing and miss in there, so I'd be interested to hear how he's been doing. But one thing he did do is he broke someone's leg. Yes.
By hitting the ball back to them so hard. It was Mets starter Clay Holmes in the Friday night series. I think it was in the bottom of the 3rd inning, and he took a comebacker, totally accidental, of course, took a comebacker to the leg. He then pitched another inning on the broken fibia, which I just thought was insane. Yeah, must be adrenaline. I don't know what that man had. But yeah, he came out the game at the end of the 4th inning. He's going to be hitting the IL with a broken right fibia. Some news updates out today. He's actually avoiding surgery, so he'll be out for probably 4 to 6 weeks for the bone to heal itself. But then he'll have to ramp up again, similar to like he would for spring training. So Clay Holmes, as we sit here, middle of May, we could be looking at maybe an August, September return. Do you think this is now it for the Mets? Because he was their best starter. He had a 2.39 ERA across 50 innings pitched. Do we think that's the final now in the coffin for the Mets? They need to sell at the deadline, all of that stuff. What do you think?
I think so. I'm not. They haven't been showing up, it seems like, at all. Like, in saying that, they did beat the Yankees 2 out of the 3 games, which was absolutely devastating. But yeah, just across the board, it seems like nothing's clicking. Nothing seems to be working. Again, I'll go over it a bit on the Yankees like overview, but in 2 of those games, they had these like dropped fly balls that someone in British baseball would have even caught, and we drop a shitload of fly balls out here. So it just seems, I don't know what it is, whether it's the culture, like I know Soto was finding like it's stressful, trying to be that kind of like man in charge as well last season, and not understanding what it is. So maybe that's not clicking, but it seems like nothing's working for them. So I don't know if they need to get Grimace out again, get him into the stands, and have their lucky charm. What about you? What do you think?
I think I've always said this. So the Mets were. I don't think the Mets were ever going to be good this year until July, because you've got so many moving parts. You know, they traded away McNeil, they traded away Nimmo, they didn't re-sign Alonso. That's three of their big guys that have been there for a while, right? They went goodbye. They bring in Robert Jr., they bring in Bo Bichette, they bring in Jorge Polanco, and I know they've had injuries. They bring in Freddie Peralta on the mound. It's just a lot of moving parts, and it's not like, you know, a couple of bench bats where, you know, you might pinch hit them, like you might see them twice a week. You know, they might play the odd game or like a backup catcher. These are like your day in, day out players that you've moved on. And, you know, Bichette was a shortstop, you know, obviously moved him to third base because he's not as good defensively. And that's taken a bit of time to adjust for. Robert Jr. wasn't the guy that Chicago White Sox thought he was, but he looked good to start the year. But it's just a team chemistry, man. Like, you bring in so many new moving parts, it's going to be a while for it all to click. And you speak to all Mets fans, and I think a lot of them were like, oh, yeah, we've just gone and, you know, spunk the most money other than the Dodgers. We're going to expect them to roll the NL East. And it's like, you look at a team like the Phillies, who, when they weren't looking good, they still looked like a team. The Mets just looked like a bunch of individuals. And I think it was always going to take 2 months for them to gel really together and, you know, build that camaraderie and all that spirit that they had before. But now, unfortunately, they've got all these players getting injured, and they've lost too many games for me now for them to really be in the NL East race. And I've not seen them play for a couple of weeks. I know it's got slightly better, and I know they're backing the manager. But for me, any Mets fan who thought that they were going to hit the ground running needs a reality check, or needed a reality check. They've had that, but they've gone too far the other way. And I think, you know, I think they're a 500 ball team now for the rest of the year. And I think they recoup and they come again next year.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel, it's slightly, I know, weird. The moves that they made almost slightly feel like a rebuild rather than building on what they had, even though they went for like Soto, but then obviously dropping those three big names. So it's like, are they going for rebuild? Do they have this kind of long-term strategy, or was it like, no, we're coming in fucking hard? Also, what happens is I haven't followed them too much. So it's like, is Lindor injured?
Yeah, Lindor's injured. So he missed most of spring training with a handmade bone injury. Came back, and he got injured just as Soto came back from his calf strain. So it was like 1 in, 1 out.
Because obviously Bichette was playing shortstop for the 3 games with against the Yankees as well. So I mean, luckily they have him because he has that experience, but he was still made a few mistakes as well, had a few errors. I completely agree with you. It doesn't feel you obviously never want to have that mentality of, right, we just need to focus on future now and starting again, and it's not really going to work. But you're right. I can't see that roadmap of them being like, oh, we have the base there, it's going to come back, we're going to be able to win, get into that like playoff contention.
Yeah, and obviously they've also got the Atlanta Braves in their division, who are best record in baseball, 32 wins and 15 losses, and they look the real deal. So they're 10 and a half games back already. Like, that's a hell of a lot to catch up. And the Phillies are looking good again. So I don't know. Enough about the Mets, though. We're going to go to the West Coast. We've got a couple of news stories for the Dodgers this week. Like I said, if Cal's not on the podcast, we can talk about the Dodgers guilt-free a little bit more. We're not going to be talking about Shohei Ohtani because we covered that last week. If you haven't caught last week's episode, go and watch it. Emily, my fiance, came on and we spoke about Ohtani at great length because she loves Shohei. And like I said, Cal wasn't anywhere to be seen. But we're going to be talking about a Blue Jay starter, Eric Lauer, who last year pitched them to the World Series, you know, was a really strong part of that rotation. Ended last year with like a 3.2 ERA across like 30 games. And the hype was there for the Blue Jays. Like they expected him to be that guy again this year, kind of in like that 6-7 starter role. Early injuries to Trey Savage and Shane Bieber and Jose Barrios. He was kind of thrust in the rotation. And it's safe to say he didn't start well for the Blue Jays, kind of in line with their start. You know, I think they're approaching 500 as we speak now on the 18th of May, but they're still a couple of games under. But yeah, Eric Lauer was very outspoken against his manager. So Eric Lauer is a starting pitcher, but he was having an opener sort of a lot of his starts. So if you don't know what an opener is, a guy will come in and pitch the first inning, maybe the first 2 innings of a game, and then the scheduled starter for that day will basically be like the bulk reliever, and he could go like 5 innings from innings 3 to 8, and it's just a way to kind of take the pressure off the starter in the first inning, and it kind of limits the moves the other manager can make. Like if you're starting a lefty and you're going up against Kyle Schwarber. If you're starting a righty and you're going against the Philadelphia Phillies, for example, they've got Schwarber and Harper that always bat in their top 3. So you open that game with a lefty so that the righty, who's going to be the starting pitcher, sees them one less time. So it's all tactical. But basically, Eric Lauer wasn't a fan of this, and he'd come out multiple times and said, "I don't want an opener." Whatever was going on in Toronto, he hasn't had a good season. He pitched I think he had like a 6 ERA. Was eventually DFA'd by the Blue Jays and has been traded to the Dodgers. Normally, this wouldn't make the roundup, but it's just funny how someone who actually pitched against the Dodgers in 25 in the World Series is now on their team. And it's another case of Alec Thomas, who was a long time Diamondback top prospect outfielder. He gets DFA'd and he got traded to the Dodgers as well, an option to AAA. Do you think the Dodgers are now just storing, proven big league talent at AAA to basically like their AAA team could be a half decent MLB team? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, that's like kind of the low hanging fruit to talk about. The Dodgers just have so much money and are throwing it at anybody who seems to do well. The thing that kind of struck me that I was surprised about, we have an import in our club in London who has played at the minor league level, Quinn. And I was chatting to him about the kind of him coming up through the different spaces, and apparently the Dodgers treat their players incredibly. Like they have an amazing system that they work up through, and it's an amazing space to be in, and they treat them really well. And then obviously they have those spaces to move. So it's not surprising that some people want to go there, or some people are like being brought in to go there. But in terms of them, it does also then just, regardless of how good they show them, it does show the disparity in what the Dodgers are doing. It's like having the ability to have that quality of player in a AAA team just to have there is just, it's like, are we actually playing this game? Does it then like take away from the fact if they go for the 3rd World Series in a row, are we kind of like, is that almost like comparable to the steroids era where it's like, oh yeah, well, like they had this and they it wasn't comparable to the people who weren't on it, and it's, I don't know, it feels dirty. What do you think?
It feels unfair, but I don't know if what they're doing is unfair. Like, I think the DFA works, it's all 30 teams have a right to obviously get that player. And I think it works in like, if it's not traded and he hits the waiver wire, then it's in like in reverse order. So the Diamondbacks are never going to be near the top of the waiver wire. I guess what sticks out to me is the fact that the Blue Jays actively went and traded him to the Dodgers. Obviously World Series last year, the Diamondbacks division rival, that he's gone to one of their rivals. So whether or not it's, the Dodgers have the money to be able to do these trades, because they've just traded for like cash considerations or whatever. So yeah, they obviously have the money to do it. I just think it's interesting that all these teams that are supposedly rivals with the Dodgers, like something like the Marlins trade for like the Dodgers take a AAA guy from the Marlins. You're like, who cares? But it's these like big name, these semi-big name players from a big team that you wouldn't expect to go to the Dodgers. You wouldn't think they'd want to help them out, but they're like, no, we'll take your money. So it feels a bit unfair to the other teams, but at the same time, I don't think they're doing anything illegal. I think it's the wider point on spending, which we'll get to in loads of episodes over the winter when there's no baseball because of it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a little like you see it and you're like, oh, I don't feel good about that. You sort of look at it with a dirty look, like, yeah,
absolutely. It's like, and it's not even the illegal thing. It's more just like you're playing at a different level. You have them, and those teams can pass on them because they probably don't have the money to spend on it, and they're trying to save it for a bigger name that they want to maybe invest in, or have some guys coming up through arbitration that they need to save money for if they want to keep them on, or whatever way it is. But the Dodgers are just like, yeah, no, here's the money, take it. I'm good with it. So it's like being on then a completely different level. You're like, oh, is it then? Does it take away from the quality of the win? Does it feel like more of a win? Which to me it kind of doesn't. It kind of takes it away a bit. Maybe I'm just bitter because they beat us 2 years ago, but I'm like, still, even aside from that, you're kind of like, it's just, yeah, are you just buying the wins now?
I'd be interested to see like what the average baseball fan thinks, because we're very anti-Dodgers on the podcast, right? We don't make any apologies for that. A lot of that is driven by the fact that Cal's a Giants fan, but it's also like, even when we were anti-Yankees before Alan came on the podcast, you could always be like, but they are a fun team. Like Aaron Judge is a good baseball player. Like Max Fried is twirling, Carlos Rodon is great. I love Cam Schlittler. I think is one of the best pitchers in the league. Whereas with the Dodgers, and it's also like they have the money to spend and they haven't really done that. They've kind of just, I'd say their net spend must be MLB average, right? The last few years, they haven't really broken the bank like the Dodgers have. They gave Kyle Tucker $240 million for 4 years, $60 million a year. I think he's the highest paid player in baseball currently, because Otani's only on $2 million a year currently. But obviously, he gets sponsorships, and I think maybe Soto's 1 and Tucker's 2. I need to look it up, but they just paid him because they had to. They didn't need Kyle Tucker. They wanted Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
But anyway, this will probably be as much Dodger talk as we do for the next month, because I'm already sick of it.
I'm fine with it. So anytime you want to let off a little steam, call me and I'll be here.
Yeah, I think I love moaning about them, but it's also like it doesn't change anything. Like me saying this on a podcast isn't going to change fundamentally the way MLB works, right?
Oh, of course not.
But, well, you never know. If the commissioners, MLB Europe followed us, so maybe we're starting to sow some seeds. Who knows?
There you go.
Yeah. One other quick Dodgers story. This is a good one for me. I was pissed off when they signed him, but I don't like to see new young players struggle. I don't have it in me. Roki Sasaki obviously came over as like the big free agent deal in 2025. Started in the rotation, didn't do too well, got injured, came back, was a good bullpen piece for them in the World Series. Anyway, with the 6-man rotation that they run with Otani, they've basically got another starter position, and they've brought him back into the rotation. And to start the year, it was looking even worse than last year. Right, walking loads of people, not really having the strikeout stuff. The velo was slightly down than it was in the bullpen, which is fair. It looks like he's finally put it together for a start. So he went 7 innings for the first time in his MLB career. He 8 strikeouts, 1 earned run, no walks, which was a big one. Admittedly, it's against the Angels, who I think have the worst record in MLB. So double question: do you think this could be a turning point for Sasaki, or do you think it's the Angels? It doesn't really count. Like, it's nice. What are your feelings on this one?
A bit of both, I'd say. It's like we'll go back to the not wanting to see them fail, because I have the same kind of thing. So I find that interesting. But it's when you see them, it's great, but it can have the knock-on effect. So even though he did not do so, or he did incredibly, but it was against the Angels, having that win, going the 7 innings is going to be like, okay, you know what, I've got it. I have got it. And that'll give him that confidence then going into the next games, which will give him that extra oomph. So I think it potentially could have. It seems as well like I don't understand having that level of Japanese pitching in with Otani and help me
Yamamoto.
here. Yamamoto, thank you. He it feels like he should be, like feeling right at home, having that standard to live up to, having just them, I'm guessing, are then going to kind of take him under his wing as well. So hopefully that's kind of what's happened. But it's all. I'd say on his next start, you'll be able to judge it pretty quickly. If he has even a half decent start, it could be like, okay, he's kind of leveling out now. It's in the right direction. But if he crumbles, you're like, okay, it was that just one-off thing.
Yeah, and as we both said, we don't like to sit here and when a young kid makes his debut, like recently, a lot of them have been. It breaks my heart a little bit when they struggle, right? Because everyone's like, "Oh, he's not a prospect anymore." All this stuff online, and I don't enjoy that. I think you have to let them. We haven't spoke about him much, but Jordan Walker for the Cardinals came up to the league in 2023. The man's only just turned 23, right? First 3 years, he's batting sub 200. He had like 10 home runs, really, really bad. Cardinals fans were ready to write him off. This year, he's putting up MVP numbers. Like he's batting over 300. He has like double-digit home runs already, and it broke my heart a little bit because the Cubs play the Cardinals a lot, and it's like you just want this kid to do well, even if it is for your rivals. And it's so nice for him to finally break out. And I guess it's the same with Sasaki. I know they've paid him loads, and that's outside of it. This is a 23-year-old kid coming over from Japan to play in MLB. He didn't start in AAA. His first start was in Tokyo against the Cubs in the opening series, and you don't like to see him struggle. And if this is him now turning it on, that it warms my heart a little bit. It will go south very quickly because it's with the Dodgers. Yeah. But I look at Yamamoto and I'm like, that man pitched into a World Series last year. No, you can't do anything but respect for that man. And yeah, that's just my personal thoughts on it.
Obviously MVP. But that's the thing I find really interesting because I have the same. Why do we find it? Why is it the kind of underdog side of things that you want to have happen? Because even when I'm watching, if the Yankees are playing and I'm watching, and there's some of the opposite team that's like just starting out new and they're struggling a bit, I'm like, oh no, come on, just get that hit. Like I actually want you to get that hit. I can't. I'm trying to think of why I want that. I think it's probably the underdog thing, and you don't want to see someone get fucking spanked around on the field. But what do you think it is for you?
I think it's just a nice story. It's like you want people to do well in the sport, right? And it gives you time to form an opinion on them. Like no one likes Bryce Harper. I think that's Philly fans like him, and I think the national fans, but that's about it. But he didn't start a knobhead. He got that over the years. And I think until you have like Jose Ramirez, everyone loves Jose, right? You can't say anything bad about Jose Ramirez. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I'd say, is in the same category. Everyone just seems to love these players. And I think when they first start out, you want them to be, if they're good at baseball, that's one thing. But if they come in like all humble and like, I just enjoy that. I think it's a nice, heartwarming story for me personally. I think they become a dickhead later on in their career. Like Dalton Rushing, for example, is going that way.
Okay. I'm hoping Ben Rice was my one for that when he first started, and I'm hoping he doesn't. He's so smiley. I can't see him going that way and feel so happy to be there. But yeah, when it happens like that, I think he's like one of his first games. He was like a free homer game or something, and it's just like, yes, go on, kid. Really into it.
And it's always different for your own team against someone else. Like I'm really happy for Ben Rice. I'm glad he's doing well. Yeah. We're running out of time, so we're going to quickly speed run these last couple. This one's a really short one. Colt Emerson, big money prospect, got $85 million from the Mariners in the offseason. He made his debut in the self-proclaimed Eddie Vedder Cup at the weekend. So nice of him to finally get his MLB debut. Again, it's always heartwarming when you look online and you see the videos. The AAA ball club for the Mariners is in Tacoma, which, to my knowledge and me looking it up, is like an hour down the road. And the manager came in and he was dressed to play. And the manager went, "Yeah, you need to drive yourself to Seattle. You're starting for the big league club." And it's just it's just nice to see their reactions when they get told for the first time.
I do love that. That's like it's like the baseball version of, I don't know, a puppy getting rescued from some on social media or something, and you're just like, oh man, yes, every time it gets me. Love it.
And we're going to end on a bit of a negative one. Not really negative. It depends on how you feel about these players. We've got a few players that are in a bit of a slump to start the year that we maybe wouldn't have expected. And I just want your opinion as to, out of these four, who you think can get right. Who's going to turn it back on to levels we know they can get to. So I'll give you four players. You've got Fernando Tatis Jr. for the San Diego Padres. He is yet to homer. He's playing half decent defense. I know he's been in the infield, but yeah, he's not homered yet. And we're sitting here, again, 2 months into the season. Cal Raleigh, who famously hit 60 home runs last year, he went through an 0 for 39 slump. got 2 hits, broke the slump, and has hit the IL for the first time in his career. Still putting up good defensive numbers. I've heard they're actually above what he did last year, but obviously the bat was the real story. American League MVP runner-up, in my opinion, should have won it. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so we've got Fernando Tatis Jr., we've got Cal Raleigh, we've got the polar bear, Pete Alonso, for the Baltimore Orioles. Had a really horrible start. It has turned it on a little bit recently, but he's only hitting 215. And finally, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who a lot of Blue Jays fans were expecting to anchor the offense this year. The average is there, but he's only hit 3 home runs. So out of those 4 players, who do you think is most likely to come out of their early season struggles? And likewise, who do you think, this is now it? This is the new norm for them, if any?
First off, Tatis feels shocking. Like, obviously think he's going to be able to hit good numbers in terms of home runs and stuff. And the fact that he hasn't hit any just seems like an anomaly. So I don't know what's going on there. The one that sticks out to me is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think he always seems to be able to pull it back. I know he had times where he struggled last season and it maybe wasn't hitting as well, but he was kind of focusing on his short game. He was always trying to hit home runs and home runs and home runs, and then switched it up and was going for them smaller ball, getting singles and really good doubles. So I think he, like you said, he has that batting average there. So it's like the home runs are going to come, and he can always really show up and seems really unfazed by it all. So he's definitely the one that stands out for me. What do you think?
I agree. My first instinct was Vladdy. I just think he's too good to not be hitting these home runs, and he's still hitting for a high average. I think it's like 280. So Blue Jays fans might listen to this and go, Vladdy isn't in a slump. What are you on about? But ultimately, they don't, especially with losing Bichette, they've lost a little bit of power in that lineup. Santander, who was like their big off-season acquisition a couple of years ago, he's injured. So you really are, it is always on Vladdy, unfortunately. A little bit of George Springer, but it's always going to be on Vladdy, the focus. I am worried for Pete Alonso. I think, he can hit for home runs quite easily. He's got 8 this year, which is a good solid number. But his average being this low surprises me. Like, I would expect him like a 260, 270 hitter. And if he's going to hit 30 home runs and he hits 270, you take that every day of the week. If you're sitting here telling me he's going to hit sub 220 on the season and give you 30 home runs, that to me isn't consistent enough. That's the one that I don't think. He might also be past the point now. And I was very big on him in the offseason. I was like, no, this is going to be a really good contract. He's going to be the best value, all this stuff. And this is the one that I'm now regretting saying all the nice stuff about him.
So what do you think he's aged out, or how old is he?
He's only 30, 31, but all the reports were like his defense at first base has never been the greatest. Even though I thought, he's not Gold Glove, but he's solid enough. A lot of people don't forgive him for ruining Kodai Senga when he was with the Mets because he misfielded a ball, threw it up too high. Senga jumped and pulled his hamstring, and Senga's not been the same since. But I thought, no, he's going to hit home runs. Baltimore's, a quite nice ballpark to hit home runs in. I think he'll do well. But I think it's going the way of it's a swing or miss thing. And again, it could just be a really elongated slump and he's just coming out of it now. But that's the one I worry for Pete Alonso and the Orioles.
I feel like it seemed like that at the start, and he seemed just then to be getting into his head a lot. Because I would dip in and out of the Baltimore games highlights and stuff as well, and that was just the focus. He was just like struck out, or ground, whatever it is, play it's not pulling it together. But I think I think the next month or so will really determine everything. Like I think if it stays dipped down, I think that's him for the season. He's not going to pull back out of it again. But if he can keep it going and get that upward trajectory, he could pull it back. I think maybe do you think maybe it's him settling into the new club and stuff as well? It's maybe like thrown him a bit.
Potentially. I mean, he was obviously a Met for life up till that point, so there's probably an element of that. But I would have expected someone of his caliber to not let that affect him. Like it's not like he's gone from the East Coast to the West Coast. He's just gone like an hour or two down the road. Realistically, So I don't know. Bit of a slump one to end with. But yeah, obviously I'm still rooting for him. I like Pete Alonso. I'm not here sitting, I wish he was bad, but
everyone loves the polar bear, man. It's true.
You can't not. That's going to bring us to the final segment of our Rounders Roundup, where we get to bitch or moan or praise our team, depending on how we feel. Obviously, I'm a Cubs fan. If you don't know by now, I am. And Alan is a Yankees fan. Because I've been on like the last 5 Rounders Roundups, I'll keep the Cubs talk pretty small and pretty sweet. We have had 2 consecutive 10-game win streaks. Outside of that, we have been playing below 500 ball. It's been very, very streaky. Obviously, you have the Mets and the Phillies as part of those win streaks, who are, pretty bad teams currently. But we just went on a road trip. It was a free city road trip, even though the last one was technically Chicago because we played the White Sox. We lost each series by 2 games to 1, so we didn't get swept. The Rangers was annoying because we could have won that series before we came up against DeGrom. Then we had the Braves, and I think I would have taken 1 win at the Braves based on how they're playing, because they are an incredible team this season and they've really turned it on. So I wasn't upset by that one. We returned to Chicago to play the White Sox. We stormed the first one. I think it was like 10-5. Edward Cabrera, our starting pitcher, wasn't great. Our second game, we got obliterated 8-3. Jameson Tyone gave up 5 home runs. He's currently given up 16 home runs on the year, and he's on pace to give up 56 for the whole year, based on how many, like 176 innings, like 56 home runs, which would be an MLB record. The current record is 50. I only know this because I've heard it on a podcast. 50 home runs given up by a pitcher 50 years ago, but he pitched 220, 230 innings. So it would be the most home runs per innings pitched, regardless of the record. And then Sunday was a really fun game. The White Sox did walk us off 9-8, but it was just a nice back and forth game. Michael Conforto continues to be our best hitter. The rest of the offense hasn't really shown up, and the starting pitching really needs some of its stars back. But that's enough Cubs talk, because it's been a while since we've heard from you and the Yankees. So just give it, what's been happening in New York on the pinstripe side.
Yeah, well, glad to hear about the catch up on the Cubs. That's been great. Yankees has been, obviously we had that big winning streak, which was incredible. It felt indestructible. We had those amazing young pitchers that were just absolutely dominating. And since then, it's been a very streaky. I think the last 12 games, we've gone 4 for 12, which is not great, especially losing all 3 series. But it's weird. It feels up and down, but it doesn't feel like it's crashing, which is good. We're still playing good ball. We've had some unfortunate hits. It's been, I think, a lot in the bullpen hasn't been great. There's just been a few, and it's not, again, specifically one person. I think they're maybe just getting overused. Like Tim Hill has had one unfortunate game. The last game against the Mets, Bednar gave up that 3-run home run to Soto in the 9th inning. I think it was 2 outs in the 9th inning, and he got the 3-run home run to tie it, and then they came back to get a walk-off. So that was absolutely devastating. But I think overall, I feel quite positive about it. It's been a lot of the young kids have shown up. It's kind of the young guys are supported. It feels like Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler are the ones supporting the team at the moment. Even with Judge is obviously still doing great, and his home run record is amazing. He's hitting well, but Ben Rice is absolutely demolishing. And you've had the other players who are then kind of having like a bit of slumps. So some of the, like, Jazz Chisholm has been up and down. We also have like some of the outfield as well. Both aren't really, like, again, it's like it's very up and down, but it doesn't feel like what Yankees has felt like in the past, where it feels like everything's kind of falling apart. I think one that I'm excited to see is, like, waiting for him to take off, is Spencer Jones. He has made some amazing plays in the outfield, which is very promising. His bat hasn't really taken off yet. I think he's at about a 160 batting average at the moment. Like you said, he ended up breaking Holmes's leg with how hard he hit the ball back, which was absolutely crazy. So if he can convert that into some home runs, especially, I don't know if he's played in the Yankee Stadium yet, but if we can get that short porch and just get him to work that power out into right field, that would be absolutely incredible. And then What else was I thinking of? Yeah, it was just one of the things I find funny. It was like, obviously people who have been watching baseball since they've been kids have it's this what I'm about to say next is really, you probably have seen it all the time, but having players that you've seen being traded to other teams come back and have these like pivotal moments that will
Yep.
really come back against the team are quite devastating. And the one that stuck with me was Weaver in the last Mets game came back in and absolutely dominated, which
Yep.
was sad coming in because you're like, oh man, he was traded last year. He's doing so well. You want him to kind of do well because you're like, you have this relationship with him, but it's fucking sad to see, man. And then just the injuries are starting to creep in, which is worrying, especially seeing Max Fried's gone out. He's just been put on the 14-day IL, which hopefully won't be extended any longer. And Caballero as well with that. I think it was the wrist or the finger on one of his hands. But positive side as well, Anthony Volpe has come back, and we know he had all his struggles last season. I did get worried because I think it was in the first or second game in, he had like a pretty should be standard ground ball, but it bounced off his glove, error. You're like, oh God, we're on our way here. But he's been playing really well since, and his plate discipline while he's been hitting has been incredible. I think over the last 14 at bats, he's had 7 walks, which has been absolutely incredible. And he had some good hits in the past season, the past series as well. He had a great 3, I think it was a 2 or 3 run double right up the middle, smacked or in, I think it was center left, and just perfect gapper. So a lot going on. Feels like it would have had the potential to go a bit shaky, but it feels like steadying. And the last one is hopefully what's his name? The old ace Cy Young winner. Name's escaping me.
We're talking for the Yankee, Carlos Rodon.
No, Rodon's back. He hasn't been great. Garrett Cole has he's back in. I think he's just having his last AAA pitching, and he's been properly pitching. At the start for the rehab, it's just been like fastballs the entire time, but he's doing his proper working off speed fastball and stuff. So excited for it to come back, but I'm just hoping it doesn't go off the edge and go down.
Yeah, I did read somewhere that Max Fried was elbow discomfort, which you never like to hear because he was having a good season. Him and Cam Schlittler were really like that 1-2 punch. Just intrigued. I was going to bring up the Volpe comments. I'm glad you kind of brought on that already. What do you think happens if Volpe continues to be like this patient and play half decent defense? Do you think Caballero gets back in the team, or do you think Caballero realistically goes back to the bench, where I think most Yankees fans thought he would be this year?
I honestly don't know. They seem to have such a loyalty to Volpe that if he plays half decent, they will keep him in. But you can't deny how well Caballero has been. Yeah. He's really showed up, and he's stepped up to what is a very intimidating position in an intimidating ballpark. Yeah, who knows? It's all going to depend on Volpe, what he does, and I'm guessing they'll probably do a test them out, give Volpe some rest days, and have him back in, and it's going to be essentially fighting for the position. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think they would do?
I think it depends on how good Volpe's been playing. I think if Volpe plays league average defense with a bit of pop, I think his ceiling's higher than Caballero. So
yeah,
I would put Volpe at short, and then you can use Caballero. I know he can play third, second, corner outfield. I'd maybe look to give Jazz a bit of a rest because I know he's not had a great year so far.
Yeah. He's showed up a bit in the past series as well, which has been good. He had that crazy, it's amazing. Do you see the bunt that he had?
No, I've not seen much of Jazz recently.
Yeah, he had this amazing bunt where he put it down, and as I saw it on the game, it just like popped up, and I was like, oh God, here we go. Yeah, it's just going to be straight into the pitcher. But the pitcher had like just taken a few steps forward, so it just went over his head and dropped right in behind him. Ended up getting an infield single. like pop-up bunt. It was amazing. But he's done well. He's like in the past, because I know he's struggled a bit, but he's done well in the past series. So hopefully he's getting together. But I think he could do with a rest. Absolutely. It's like he's been worked like a lot.
Fair enough. I think that's it for our team talks. We're coming to the end of the Rounders Roundup. I think we've just got one kind of, just a sort of in memoriam to end with, and that's new long-time Yankees broadcaster John Sterling passed away a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, I think you're a little bit more familiar with him than I am, Alan. So over to you, just to what was he to the Yankees?
Yeah, well, obviously he was with the Yankees for decades, and he's become was such a major part of even just experiencing, and it's even for me watching baseball for the past 6-7 years, that he was that voice in your ear, and you'll have the same, like every team has this person that you'll kind of like associate with being enjoyed by the game, those exciting moments, the home run calls, whatever it is. And it's been amazing to see, like one small detail has been just having all the players had like the little like JS on their hats for the past, since it happened, so like 2 or 3 weeks. And the thing that really sticks with me with him was his calls, home run calls, but for specific players. I think he did the best. And I thought I could give him like the top 3 that I could think of was one was the big man was All Rise for the Judge. I think it's like super simple, goes in, it's really nice. And then second, I have the Giancarlo Stanton, which was the Giancarlo, no si puoi stopparlo. And it was just in his like silky smooth voice, sounded hilarious. But the last one, which just sounds weird and kind of sounds a bit dirty, but isn't, which I think is fucking hilarious, is the and he doesn't even play for them anymore, but is Higashioka, the home run stroker. So he'd come up with these things, and it's like so rooted in, I don't know, like 50s, 40s lingo, but it has this like contemporary edge to it. Just sounds hilarious and just makes me smile every time. So I think that'll definitely be his kind of mark on the organization. What did you have any connection there? Are you like, would you have just
no? So broadcasters for me are obviously very Cubs related. Like I've heard of the names like John Sterling, Bob Uecker for the Brewers. I was a bit more familiar with, but again, I don't watch Yankees week in, week out. But I know how much he was revered around the world for his calls, and I know he was known for his personalized home run calls. But yeah, condolences to his family and Yankees fans that obviously listened to him for years. And I think from what I've heard from like the baseball media world, really stand-up guy. So
absolutely, I think that one of the kind of one of the highlights as well, I think, was the fact that he was able to come in and because he had retired, but then came back for the World Series last season. So it's like literally right up until he's passing, he's being able to be a massive part of the Yankees organization. It's amazing.
Yeah, thoughts go out to him, his family, and friends and loved ones, and also to Yankees fans who are probably going to miss having him around.
Absolutely.
Bit of a sad one to end on, but this has been the Rounders Roundup with Brit Does Baseball Does podcast. I've been Gaz, Alan's been Alan. You've all been fantastic. We will catch you next week where we discuss all of MLB in usually half an hour or less, but turns out maybe 45 minutes. Thank you. Have a good week.